Anyone else wanna? Thank you. Anyone else is on the video? Please do share your video if you're interested coming on. So how's your connection there, Kuldeep?
Yeah, pretty good.
Cool. If you're able to come on video, that's nothing like it. Just going to say that.
Yeah, I'll come in a little bit.
Sure. So hello everyone. My name is Vikram, and I'm your host today for this meetup. I know it's a Bitcoin Cash meetup. Yes, we're going to be talking a lot about Bitcoin Cash and why is it different and what is it about and things like that. Because a lot of people have very little understanding. And of course, we all know about Bitcoin. That is exactly what is Bitcoin Cash also in a way. But yes, we're going to be talking about that. As a host, my experience is with one of the first Indian exchanges called UnoCoin. I founded UnoCoin back in 2013. Now we have something called, now I'm doing a startup called InstaCrypto. InstaCrypto is a little different to what exchanges we already have seen in my past. So InstaCrypto is a non-custodial exchange. It's an instant, exchange between crypto to INR and INR to crypto. Unlike traditional exchanges are a custodial platform where they will hold your INR and your crypto. In InstaCrypto, we do not hold your INR and your crypto. We do not provide wallets. So it's an instant exchange for you to use. The rest of it is available. Of course, the app is available on Play Store. You can try that out there. And yes, welcome everybody. And thank you for the interest that you've shown for the Bitcoin Cash Meetup. Yes, let's hear from Kuldeep to start with. Hi, Kuldeep. Do you want to just give us a couple of lines from you?
Yeah, sure. So I've been friends with Vikram for about 2 years or so. I've been in the space in Bitcoin Cash space for the same time, but in the entire blockchain system for about 4 years or something. I'm mostly like work on technical sides of things. I'm a software engineer, so I've been in tech space for about 7 years or so. Me and Romit has not joined yet. So we and Romit both work on Zapit.io. We are a wallet. We are primarily focused on Bitcoin Cash and another side chain, which we will talk about in this meetup afterwards, called Smart BCH, which is a Ethereum sidechain of Bitcoin Cash. I've worked with various companies, including contracts with Google, and done freelancing for about like 3-4 years. Joined a few places. Mostly, I work on right now. I work on very hardcore technical aspects, not anything else apart from that. Recently wrote a white paper for Bitcoin Cash recurring payments called ARC, and right now, and also probably the world's first discount system on main chain of Bitcoin Cash, along with SLP tokens. For people who don't know SLP tokens, that's basically a token system that you can basically you can mint your own tokens on top of main chain of Bitcoin Cash. So yeah, right now we are implementing the same things on Smart BCH. A lot of interesting things happening over there. I definitely have a lot of things to share with everyone here. Yeah, that's basically it about me.
Thank you very much, Kuldeep. I think he didn't explain much about himself. He
Yeah.
had once set up an Ethereum decentralized exchange, which was ready. It was called OC2, and that's when we met at the time. Now that Ethereum virtual machine can be run on Bitcoin Cash Smart BCH, I'm very happy that Kuldeep is there for us to talk to and know anything about technical, because he's well versed with Ethereum and also on Bitcoin Cash now.
Yeah, true.
Cool. Anybody else want to jump in and you want to talk about how you got into crypto and things that we can use the first 10 minutes to get our participant to come in and speak. You can use your video also while you can. If none of you want to introduce, that's fine. We can actually start with the meeting.
Yeah, it's better to encourage, like engage. Like just tell us what you do. Maybe help us out.
I think somebody accidentally turned their camera on. So whoever is with username iPhone, try yes.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so anybody else? Have we got another couple of minutes? I think I can give that a minute more.
I'm sorry, are you seeking for people to just introduce themselves? Is it?
Yeah, anyone wants to jump in and come in?
Yeah, sure.
Is this...
Mhm.
Yes, Lakshay, go on.
Yeah, hi guys, I am Lakshay. Currently working with a Plan Software, which is a US-based firm, and working as a senior project manager. Been in blockchain space for close to 6 months now, exploring it more or less. Know a little bit about Solidity, tried coding on that. So yeah, that's a brief introduction about myself.
Cool. Thank you very much, Lakshay. It's nice to have you. So you said you're already working on a blockchain project.
No, so I am working as a senior project manager, and I'm working with Upland Software, which is into mobile messaging sort of products. Right, so not into blockchain, but I am planning to venture into this. That's
Okay.
how yeah.
Great.
Awesome.
Welcome, Lakshay. Anybody else want to come in? So cool, no problem. We can just start. The meetup today is about Bitcoin Cash, and why specifically Bitcoin Cash? I don't know if you guys know about it. If anybody has any doubt on that specifically, you can just raise your hand and then come into the meeting. Otherwise, Bitcoin Cash is nothing but Bitcoin. That's exactly what I liked about Bitcoin back in 2010. You won't believe I've heard about Bitcoin a long time ago. This is a time when I was living in the UK and I heard about Bitcoin because I was doing a research on how my prices of my house collapsed, because I had assets in the UK and the asset pricing just collapsed because of the recession. And for me, it was very clear. I'm from India, and I believe in understanding house prices should not just collapse like the way it did in the UK. So when I was doing my research, I came across Bitcoin. Of course, in the beginning of it, I totally didn't give it a thought. I moved on and I kept on doing my research. When it came back again and again, I was like very keen on understanding why this is part of it. Initially, I thought Bitcoin was nothing but just like an alternative to credit cards and debit cards. Maybe it's the app wise you pay and it's from the banks. But I guess I eventually realized in 2010 beginning that it is a decentralized system. It's open source and it's not controlled by the banks in traditionally the way it is happening. So that got me interested and I kept on looking into it. It took me a long time to understand. Of course, I'm not a technical background or not a financial background. And both I had to learn then a little bit of technical and a lot about financial and economics I learned in 2010 to 11. I did a years of MBA in that. So eventually when I learned, I realized crypto is the way forward. And I think we need something decentralized because I realized with my research also at that time, that centralized banking system that was there in the UK, which held mostly like 90+% of people were already on the banking ladder. It was very easy to manipulate a lot of things for the banks. And with that in mind, I realized anything alternative which is decentralized will definitely flourish. And in my tenure in the UK, the way I heard about Bitcoin was completely different to what I heard after. In the beginning, when I heard about Bitcoin in the UK, they used to call it as a revolutionary currency. And I used to wonder why revolutionary currency. And I just realized is my experience in UK with gypsies. They used to train us on it when I was working in the hotel industry. And that's what was my background before crypto. They used to train me saying that anybody comes in cash and pay cash, they are the gypsies, jippos, jippolatas, and this is how we should treat them. And I now understand they're trying to remove the cash system and bring them all on the banking ladder so that they can easily control 100% of the people. So when crypto gives that kind of feature to you without being on a banking ladder, it's amazing, right? So that's where I got onto it. 2011, I bought a few Bitcoins on bitcointalk.org, one of the forums of Bitcoin. If you want to understand what has been happening then. And even Satoshi used to communicate on bitcointalk.org, because Reddit came in a little later after. I'm sure Satoshi spoke there also, I guess, but I did not follow that. Reddit r/Bitcoin is another place where you can find a lot about Bitcoin, but I guess you will not find anything really true that's going on Bitcoin on Reddit now. It's very controlled. And also your bitcointalk.org doesn't allow that easily for us to get information. But that's where I was, and that's where I communicated with people, and I just got a few Bitcoins to understand, learn, and move on. And with my understanding of Bitcoin then, when I keep moving on and I see how the development of Bitcoin is happening, it just didn't, I couldn't swallow that thing that why Bitcoin developers are acting a little differently, because I learned about economics. Now that I know economics and I understand finance, the way the development of Bitcoin is happening is not in par with the way Satoshi wrote the codes and Satoshi wrote the white paper, right? Satoshi wrote the white paper clearly keeping that in mind, that prior to Bitcoin, there was a lot of different type of digital and these and alternative currencies were being launched, but they were all crushed because they were all centralized. And he wanted to do the same thing decentralized way. And when he's doing decentralized way, very clearly he's bringing in some product that going to give everybody a feature that they can communicate between each other through value without a central party. That's peer-to-peer cash system. That's exactly what he did. But eventually, after hearing the developers of Bitcoin, you don't hear that concept from them anymore. They don't talk about this peer-to-peer cash system. They only talk about that asset system, value system only, that you hold and you just hold it and you don't really use it for commerce. That doesn't really make sense, because from my little understanding and the learning that I've done, I guess a currency should be like how Satoshi wrote in his white paper, and Bitcoin is not that. What is really followed from that white paper is Bitcoin Cash. How many people believe in it and how many don't? Of course, there are a lot of people who don't understand that concept that I'm talking about. Please raise your questions, have your questions ready, and I'm happy to answer that. For me, what is Bitcoin Cash? Bitcoin Cash is nothing but christening of Bitcoin. Bitcoin has got a second name now, Bitcoin Cash. That's exactly what Satoshi thought of, and he wrote and he did. When he launched his first protocol of Bitcoin, it was unlimited MBs of space. Of course, he restricted it to 1 MB to improve the security for the time being. And then eventually we were supposed to improve on that and then increase 1 MB to X amount of MBs depending on the use case, because we're not going to be just doing 7 transactions per second, right? We need about 700, maybe next 7,000. Maybe eventually we go and get 700 or maybe crores of transactions per second. But that is only possible if you continuously develop. If you hear today about these side chains and the way they talk about their development and bring in new features every week, and we see Bitcoin has not been developed last 4 years. It's very highly restricted. And clearly what we can see is the people who are now the developers of Bitcoin kind of now conveniently have a side project of their own. And the side project allows a second layer on top of it. With just decentralized banks, that would have been written on the Satoshi's codes. Of course, he didn't write that. He was decentralizing the whole system, not just the banks. Like how the second layer is coming on top of Bitcoin, is just making more banking things. Like you're going to start a channel with the Lightning, and then you're running a bank of your own, and you're not doing on-chain transactions for everybody on the blockchain of Bitcoin. They're doing it once in a few hours, days, however it's convenient for them. But you're doing a sidechain transaction, and those transactions are centrally controlled again. We don't want that, right? We want decentralized system completely in and out, through and through. That's what we have in Bitcoin Cash. That was the debate that was happening in 2016 and 17 before the fork happened. And when the fork happened, eventually the group which really understood what economics is about and what Satoshi wanted it, took the chain, called it Bitcoin Cash. And that's why I say Bitcoin has been christened in 2017. It's got its new name, Bitcoin Cash now. And it's the prodigy of Bitcoin, right? It has to be better. So it's getting better and better now. With the kind of features that's been added in BCH, amazing capabilities to serve the whole globe for financial services. That's like peer-to-peer electronic system, which is not possible with Bitcoin, even though it's the daddy of all the Bitcoins, all the cryptocurrencies. I meant it is an asset. It's a value proposition, and it's a great store of value, and it sits like that. But it is not going to be the currency for the world. if I compare it to gold, yes, Bitcoin is like gold. It's going to be a great store of value, but it will sit without getting used, like how gold actually sits without getting used, because we are on the internet world. On the internet world, we cannot use gold to send and receive money. Gold was a very great store of value and a currency at that time when we didn't have computers and internet. When we used to meet people in person to do business and transactions, well, that was really good then. But now that we don't meet people and we do so much commerce online. We need an improvised currency. That's what was Bitcoin. That is what is now Bitcoin Cash. That's where I am. I was going to talk about a little bit more about what happened in the releases in Miami conference. And after the Miami conference, there's a lot of news, articles that came around about what is Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash and the comparison and the vessels and everything. So let's talk about that. Before that, yes, I would love to take some questions and see if you guys had anything to talk about what I said so far.
Yeah, I would like to make 2 points.
Kuldeep, go on.
Yeah. So one thing I would like to correct is Bitcoin is basically, if you think in a way, all the forks of Bitcoin are actually Bitcoin itself. Like if you were to say Bitcoin, they're collectively called Bitcoin. Like that's
Absolutely.
just an idea. But yeah, the BDC that's been blessed with the speculation of most of the people is the version that is choked by 1 megabyte block limit. So you can't do a lot of transactions. You would have to bribe the miners with more fees in order to include your transaction within the next block or wait if you don't want to pay that much. The main idea of Bitcoin is basically the decentralization and removing of the control from some central parties for the issuance of those currencies. So Bitcoin, there have been many attempts before that. In 2004, around that, there was e-gold, and Hashcash was another solution. That was an attempt. But Bitcoin introduced a system called proof of work. That basically started this entire revolution.
Absolutely.
The Bitcoin Cash is just a different name. With basically, you can call it an upgrade of Bitcoin, and BDC you can call as a basically a controlled version of Bitcoin. Why I'm saying Bitcoin controlled version is because if you want a decentralized system, you would want a decentralized team as well. You wouldn't want just one team to control a system which you claim to be decentralized, which is not the case with BTC. The Bitcoin core implementation is basically used by 99% of the miners all across the globe. So any changes that Bitcoin core will make, that change will be introduced in Bitcoin. For example, SegWit and recent not really. I wouldn't want to talk about it. Anyways, but there is but when it comes to Bitcoin Cash, it follows the philosophy of a distributed system, distributed teams as well. There are about 5 to 6 nodes, node implementations from different independent teams, and those are used by miners. And each has a certain allocated usage, not really allocated, like usage percentage per implementation. So whenever some performance increase happens in one of the implementation, miners can just choose to use that piece of code instead of anybody else. So nobody can actually dictate as to how this particular software should work, which is basically the border, the base of the next financial system. So and the second point would be BTC is definitely considered as a store of value, but what people don't realize is it's the same supply. But so that's 21 million. But of course, a lot of Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash have been lost over this 12 years of time. So it's of course the supply is like somewhere around 17 or 18 million. it's the same for both. Now imagine you have to pay, let's say, 1,000 rupees or 2,000 rupees to just make a transaction. And now imagine you pay 2,000 rupees for an incredible amount of transactions. So per transaction cost is about 7 paisa or even less when it comes to Bitcoin Cash. And the idea that you were talking about, Vikram, where the Satoshi said that you would increase the block size, that was introduced to reduce the spam. Basically, it was an act of a spam. It was basically a spam filter. So the value of Bitcoin was very low, and the emission rate was pretty high.
Yes.
So at that time, 50 Bitcoin were coming up within 10 minutes, and the value of 50 Bitcoin was basically nothing.
Yes.
So you can make a lot of transactions and fill up the entire block space, and you would still not like basically you will choke the entire network, which is not ready yet because very few people are using it. So what they did is they introduced a cap for the block. Basically, you can't fill up the block for more than, let's say, 1 megabyte.
1 MB. Yeah.
Yes. So the idea was that you would gradually keep on increasing the size as you go forward, respecting the Moore's law, which means
absolutely. Yeah.
The space and computation would be respected there. So basically, if almost everybody here would agree that earlier the small chip you would buy, maybe 5 MB or 100 MB or whatever, 128 MB SanDisk was pretty expensive, but now it's 2 GB and it's basically the same price, or 20 GB or the same price. So the storage capacity has increased, but this was not considered by, of course, the BTC part of thing. So this entire revolution, basically, the main part of Bitcoin, the main idea lived in BCH, is what I would like to comment. Yeah, that's it.
Absolutely. I think you got the points explained very clearly. That was what was happening to see that there was no fees at that time. And if you allow more space, people can easily fill the block and then congest the whole system. So that's when they put in a 1 MB, and then he was expecting this would increase according to the transactional increase. And now that we have more than that, which we can clearly see it, because when 2017 jump happened, there were more transactions than the blocks can hold. But the developers of BTC did not even think of why they should increase it, or they should go back to Satoshi's in messages on bitcointalk.org and understand why he said those things and what he did then. As a developer, I would expect that them to be very sound on the past and what's happened so far. But the current developers don't even want to have an argument on that. There is not even a debate on that. I wonder why they are so highly think that they are Satoshis and are not allowing the real Satoshis messages to come out.
Well, I've got a list of things that I can share with people, but I'll do that at the end.
Surely, we look forward to that.
Yeah. By the way, Sushmit is here.
Oh, hi Sushmit, are you also here? Super.
Hey, hi guys. Nice to meet you all.
Yeah,
same.
Long time.
So guys, we have two major developers now. You have any questions on Ethereum, Bitcoin development, blockchain, Web3, shoot your questions, and at least the masters are here. They can explain to you.
Hi, yeah. My name is Nijam. I have a question related to blockchain.
Yeah, go on.
I've been thinking whenever I withdraw some amount from I am swapping my coin Pancake Swap, they require small transaction fee. Suppose if I'm using Ethereum chain, they require Ethereum, BNB and all. So isn't there means there can't be other blockchain created that that will charge the gas fee from that coin only, means you don't have to keep an initial amount in your wallet.
Yeah,
Yep,
well, there are. Yeah, Sushmit, go on. Definitely.
I think there is Cardano has came up with this research.
Yeah.
So whatever token you have in your airdrop, you can just pay the gas fees in that base amount. But I think Kuldeep is adding on something.
Sure. So there's a proposal from I forgot the name who proposed it, but you can actually provide a signature, and the spender can actually uh, pay the transaction fees on your behalf. So, but it's
Yep,
not
on
mainstream yet.
So
yes, on
actually, I'm
Ethereum, it's called.
confused. If it would be there, then how would this work? Because for every transaction, there are some confirmations required. So how will we pay minus the fee to confirm it?
Right. So there is something called meta transaction, and there is a startup also by Economy that's doing it. So what happened is that your transaction is put on chain by some other miners out
Yes.
there, so you don't need to pay fees on, and they will pay fees on their behalf. So it's like it came for like onboarding the users on the dApps on Ethereum. But this is on the
Hmm.
Ethereum side. This can be done natively on the blockchain also, and that is something I think Cardano has just recently is
Hmm.
working on.
Yeah, they're working on. They've got a lot of features going on. So basically, it would be like you sign a message, and you send it to some protocol. Okay, let's say X. So what they do is they pay the miners on your behalf. You would do the transaction, the tokens that you had without Ethereum, you can still spend them, but they would basically take a cut from the token that you are actually spending, and basically just to mitigate the risk of, you know, basically to not lost money as when they are paying for your transactions.
Okay, I got you.
So
So
if I can come in on this, so what Bitcoin Cash is trying to do is on Smart PCH, it's running on your virtual machine of Ethereum EVM
Yeah,
itself. So on everything that Ethereum
on
virtual
drugs.
machine Web3 protocols have been built, those are all facing a small issue about this gas fee because of the high fees and the network congestion. So that's where Smart PCH is coming into play, where it can do the same transactions for least amount of fees and without congestion. And also all of those protocols that have been built on Ethereum can be used, done on Smart PCH because the way it's been done on the Ethereum side. So that's where one of the things has been fixed. But of course, from what I heard from the two experts just now on Ethereum, the gas fees can be mitigated in many ways, like the way Kuldeep just explained. Eventually, whatever that you have as a token holds some kind of value that can be on decentralized exchanges instantly change to a gas fee, and then your fee can be paid your transaction. Maybe a little high, but at least whatever value that you have can be utilized. This issue is, of course, fixed at the time when it is downtime or correction period time. But I've always seen a fees issue and a real peer-to-peer on-chain transaction issue comes up big time when the price hike is happening.
Yeah,
That
true.
means the bull run time is happening. It's about 25% of the time. Every 4 years, 1 year used to be the bull run year. And it has been consistent like that for every 4 years. 1 year has been the real year of price going up all the time. So those times in that year is when you will find a little issue with the the fees paid, the gas fee paid, or the miners fee paid for the transaction.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to just promote Smart BCH to Sushmit as well. It's got a lot of upgrades from the. It's not exactly a copy paste of Ethereum. There are a lot of changes that are made to the core data structures of the entire system. So the gas is the gas limit per block is very high. Since Bitcoin Cash is mostly about low fees for whatever it takes, and the same philosophy is followed by Smart BCH. So whenever you are making more transactions, like even right now, there was, like yesterday there was a new hard fork for Smart BCH where the stakers and the miners can vote on 50% on the validators, and a group of validators can actually like change the price, the gas fees, basically whatever you can up to a certain limit. So there are a lot of really interesting things happening on Smart BCH. If everyone has any kind of experience with Ethereum, I would urge you to try Smart BCH. you can ping me on Twitter or whatever.
Sure.
I would love to help you out.
So they say the smart PCH to switch from PCH to smart PCH, the chain, your side chain, the bridge to the side chain is not decentralized yet.
Yeah, not yet.
That's where Bitcoin Cash developers are building the bridge. But bridge is just for you to change your Bitcoin Cash to smart PCH, right? But the value of it once it becomes smart is always safe. You can hold it on your Mycelium or your MetaMask wallet. Not the Mycelium, I'm sorry. It's a MetaMask wallet that allows you to hold them. So similarly, whatever has been developed on Ethereum, if you want to understand if that can be done on smart PCH, yes, somebody or the other is working on it and you will be able to find that. Just one of those things that has been happening. If everybody is okay with this part of the thing, I would just move on with the next Miami conference that happened. But yeah, I'd give it a minute or two for anyone else to raise.
Yeah, hi. So I wanted to ask, like, if this D apps were in the roadmap of Bitcoin when it was originally introduced by Satoshi.
I'm sorry, can you repeat your question?
So the D apps, the applications that we are building, what Ethereum came up with. So I wanted to know if this was in the roadmap somewhere, the smart BCH, when the original Bitcoin was coded by Satoshi.
So yeah, Vikram, if you allow me to.
Please go ahead.
Okay, thank you. So scripting, basically what happens in a dApp is that you write some code, you write a smart contract that you can interact with, and nobody owns it and anybody can access it. So that's basically the entire imagination of Ethereum, that anybody can deploy any kind of contract and you can interact with it. And since it's a Turing complete, you can basically create far more variety and far more complex piece of software, and you can interact with it within that system. But when you talk about Bitcoin, there is still you can still write some contracts. Initially, it's called basically the Bitcoin script, but the power of Bitcoin script is not flexible. You can't do a lot of things with Bitcoin itself. So, but of course, like you can, there were feasible applications, but the number of application you would do is fairly small. But that is also changing with smart BCH, Bitcoin Cash. There is a new upgrade coming on May 22. That is going to introduce two features, that is native introspection and increase the size of integers. So basically, that's the reason you would be able to create the SHA-Gate upgrade, basically the bridge of smart BCH and Bitcoin Cash as a decentralized bridge, because of that would be possible because of the upgrade of main chain BCH. And you would also be able to do a lot of computation within the main Bitcoin Cash, or you would say Bitcoin chain. For example, just small example would be recently, a few upgrades ago, Bitcoin Cash introduced a system called covenants. So what happens is you can add restrictions in your script as to how you would spend that. It's a UDXO, but basically your money, how you spend it within a contract. So let's say you write a script where you can only send that money to, let's say, person A or person B. And after some time, if the transaction happens or whatever happens, if it doesn't, anybody can sign a transaction and broadcast that particular transaction, and the money will go to person B, maybe based on time or based on the block height or whatever. So, but the limitation of this was that you can only interact with 21 BCH, 21 Bitcoin Cash, as before this upgrade that is yet to come the next month. Now you can do a lot more things. You can even do multiplications. It was not possible before, and basically a lot of things that you can, a lot of innovative things that you can do within the main chain itself. So it's happening on both of sides.
Absolutely.
I diverted a little bit. Yeah.
Divyam, I hope you have got your answer, but I guess you still raised your hand. Do you have any other question?
Yeah.
Clear. Thank you.
I have a question. Like, see, for developers, it's easy to create. For now, for developers, it's easy to create anything like.
Very unfortunate. I think he was just about to finish his question and he got dropped off. Is he still there?
Hello.
Hello.
Hi. Hello,
Yeah,
go
my
on.
question, my answer was cleared. Yeah.
Hello.
Go
Can you
for
hear
it.
me?
We're able to hear you now.
Yeah. Hello. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Fine. I just want to ask, if both Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash are almost similar, why there is a huge price difference between the two? Why do you think so?
I'll share a link for a video. it's a like it was recently launched. I really loved it. It's a 44-minute long video. That will help everybody out. But Vikram is a better person to answer this.
Well, I guess the price really makes no difference to me in this scenario where two cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin being the daddy of all cryptocurrencies, Ethereum is standing at second, right? Ethereum price is not even quarter, a fraction of what is Bitcoin's price is. But do you think the followers of Ethereum are less, or Ethereum has been less traction? No, absolutely not. Ethereum has got a lot of traction. Why there is still so much traction, even though Bitcoin price is higher than Ethereum? So in that factor, if you see Bitcoin price and Ethereum price makes no difference to that quality of what the coin is bringing in. Bitcoin is the daddy of all. It was the first of its kind. It was minted at the time nothing else was available and around it. So it holds the highest price right now. And it will continue to hold for some time. I do not know which other currency may overtake it, depending on another currency that may come in as a global reserve, which I believe is going to be Bitcoin Cash, because it's got all the properties of Bitcoin and is better in terms of doing much more features than what Bitcoin can do. That I can run down those features in a minute. So when that happens, the price will change automatically. Till that time, will the price make any difference to what those two coins are doing? Absolutely nothing. So what I mean by that is, say if I was going to send you 20,000 rupees in Bitcoin, I would be sending 0.1 or maybe less than that. Or in Bitcoin Cash, I may be sending 1 Bitcoin Cash or maybe 0.9. You understand? The price, the value is met. The value is supposed to be 20,000 equivalent in INR, which is equivalent to X in Bitcoin or equivalent to Y in Bitcoin Cash. So eventually, when I send you that, the purpose of that is solved. Both currencies can do that purpose. Next comes the store of value. Store of value, you can hold it in Bitcoin or in Bitcoin Cash because you do not know, or we do not know, and nobody knows what the future is going to bring in terms of the price. So if Bitcoin is going to jump from 40 lakhs to 1 crore, that is going to be 2.5 times. Bitcoin Cash can go from 20,000 to 50,000. That's also 1.5 times. So depending on what is the amount that you want to invest, say you want to invest 1 lakh rupees and looking forward to seeing that 1 lakh rupees in the next 4 years, you can put in half here and half there. Both are almost the same way it's going to grow. One may grow better than the other, which we just don't know yet in the next 4 years. But if you see, the value of it didn't make any change if you were using it for store of value as an investment, because you're bringing your investment in INR. You buy some part of it in Ethereum, some part you buy Bitcoin, some part you buy Bitcoin Cash. You can hold it in multiple things. Just because Bitcoin is high priced, I wouldn't suggest you to go and put all your 1 lakh rupees in Bitcoin only. I would say make a portfolio and spread your value. So your store of value part is also done. Next comes is your technology in terms of what can you build on blockchain. If you see, actually Bitcoin does not allow you to build anything on the Bitcoin blockchain. It's a little restricted right now because the developers don't allow it to be done that way. It's sitting as store of value only. In Bitcoin Cash and Ethereum, there is a high possibility of you building DeFi systems and your farming and allowing your tokens to grow, your holdings to grow. Those things are very much possible on these chains. So if you see, the price didn't make any difference to that yet. When the price makes a difference to some people is only in trading. When some people want to sit and trade cryptocurrencies, they say, oh, I want to trade in Bitcoin. Why? Only because the price is high. Well, in the real market of trading, if you go into DMAT, Would the price of a share makes a difference to the trading profits that you make? No, actually it does not make, because some companies share may be very high price, some companies share is low price, but which gives you better profit and which he understands economically better is different, right? So same way in trading also, the price does not make any difference. But of course, why the price is sitting at lower and higher, I will give you that a glimpse of that. That happened recently in Miami conference. In Miami conference, there were a lot of people who came to the conference and talked about a little bit of Bitcoin. And otherwise, there was a lot of celebrities which came and showed their face saying that, okay, yeah, see, we are also part of Bitcoin. But if you see the Miami conference itself, was less than 50% were paid in Bitcoin. When you have a Bitcoin conference running from such a long time, you would like people to be paying in Bitcoin, and the merchandise sold inside the conference venue should be used or sold for Bitcoin. That was not happening. Why was that not happening? Because Bitcoin is not sitting there as a medium of exchange. Peer-to-peer cash system is completely removed from the Bitcoin compared to what is being used in Bitcoin Cash. So even when Satoshi wrote his codes, his white paper that was launched almost like now 14 years ago, 2008, he made a clear guidelines to why peer-to-peer cash system is what is important. Is because in the past, that's what they have seen. They have seen control from the centralized entities, governments, Federal Reserve, those kind of things, which will restrict people to do value transfer. When you are not allowed to speak, you cannot move your thoughts. It's the same way when you're not allowed to pay, improve economics. So that was one of the main key reasons why Satoshi wrote that white paper, and he explained what is crypto, as in the first one ever, Bitcoin. Peer-to-peer cash system. So that is lost there. So in this Miami conference, if you see, Bitcoin is not catching up with that. But instead, what happened was a lot of Bitcoin Cash topic was talked about. And just after the conference, I heard and I saw also there are many documents or I would say blogs and.
Yes.
And people have made comments and put out, even Forbes have put out one thing saying that what is Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash difference. But when they explain this difference, a lot of times I see they make a small mistake. They make these things saying that, oh, Bitcoin Cash has got less security. Bitcoin Cash has got less adoption. Bitcoin Cash has got less. So what is less? Why they are saying that these things are less and then improve, like highlighting on those points, which makes no relevance to real future of cryptocurrency. What I mean by that is, one of the points they say, okay, second layer is better and Bitcoin Cash doesn't have it. No, Bitcoin Cash doesn't need a second layer because on-chain transactions is what we need, and it is already available on Bitcoin Cash. On Bitcoin, they're building second layer, which is not really needed. It's a thing that you're giving the control of Bitcoins of people back to centralized institutions. Now, if I may say why this point comes back again, when you give it to centralized entities, then they can stop your transactions at the time when they don't like your transactions to be made. Say you're paying somebody who's an activist writing exactly what you think is true, but when you make a transaction to him, trying to make him give a small donation to him, they will stop that donation. It is not like that every time you're trying to make a transaction, they're going to stop it. But when the key point that is true and you want to donate to that person who's helping you understand that and publish that to the people, they will stop that transaction. So that's where it goes back to the before Satoshi days, where banks could have done that. Banks get the instructions from Federal Reserve and the US government saying that, no, stop his guy's transaction. He's writing against the government of the US. What happened to Julian Assange? Exactly the same thing. Julian Assange was dropping on the information through WikiLeaks about what was happening in the US and the US Defense Force was doing. But he got shunned by Visa, MasterCard, PayPal, bank transfers. All four of them shut payments to him. When they shut payments to him, only thing that came to rescue him was Bitcoin in 2010. This is end of 2010. When this happened, even Satoshi was shocked. Even Satoshi wrote a comment on Bitcoin Talk saying that Bitcoin did something which is earlier than I thought. That means Bitcoin is already used for that. So those two, if you see those points, Bitcoin is restricted in many ways, and Bitcoin Cash takes that Bitcoin's real message that Satoshi wrote in the white paper and goes around. So that's where you see those things are very relevant, where you are able to make payments, settlements without any central party being in between, on-chain transactions that is still available. So it makes no sense somebody like Forbes writing that you need second layer. They know too much. That's the problem. When they know too much, they get instructions from Federal Reserve, and they have to write according to them, not according to what they know. They're already, controlled by the government like that. I would clearly see from the way they're writing, and they also say store of value is less. So it should be a store of value only. No, that it should not be a store of value only. No cryptocurrency should be store of value only. Then it is restricting itself to the real use case that's going on the blockchain. What you do is without permission, you are able to, send and receive value around. That's possible on the blockchain. So why should your crypto should be only store of value? That's where they also are wrong. And they're wrong saying that Bitcoin Cash, because the price is low, it has less support. But then what support or what community you're talking about? Are you talking about the store of value community? Of course, it will be less, because Bitcoin Cash community understands beyond just store of value. And they say, okay, maybe the traders are less. Yes, of course, the traders are less, because the trading platforms are restricting Bitcoin Cash, that you cannot withdraw Bitcoin Cash, you cannot directly deposit, you can only deposit USDT, and you can deposit Bitcoin or Ethereum only. Then if you restrict them, of course, your value of a particular currency is going to be low, because even the exchanges are not able to see what is the real use case of cryptocurrencies for the future, because they're not economically strong. They're only money-minded people. They're pumping in a lot of money to run their exchanges, and they're making two people trade, and they want them to trade their most expensive asset, because they can make bigger cut in between. So that's where again they're wrong. And and one of the points I would like Kuldeep and Sushmit to come in is because they say the security of Bitcoin Cash is lower than Bitcoin. At what level are they even talking about? I do not understand that. I did not see at any point of view. If you see really if the security of the coin is coming down, Bitcoin itself changed from Bitcoin to SegWit. That means they allowed 3 times more transactions in the block by removing the signatures. Did that actually do the same thing? But no, they don't want to talk about that, but they want to talk about something else, which people in the front line are not so smart to understand all the technical detail. So they just buy into these concepts that the lies that even Forbes put out. This just happened after Miami. Well, of course, before Miami also there was some, but after Miami conference, suddenly there was like influx of these. That's what I came to know about. But this point that I was trying to make and bring in Kuldeepan and Sushmit, I'd like them to come in, please, and tell me what do you think about this security issue, saying that Bitcoin Cash they say that Bitcoin Cash is less secure blockchain than the Bitcoin blockchain.
Yeah. Sushmit, like if you allow, I'll go first.
Yep.
Cool. Go ahead, Rohit. Go ahead, Kuldeep.
So primarily the reason for it goes to hash rate, as to how many miners are mining Bitcoin Cash. It's graded by a factor of 10 to the power 2 or something, like 100 times more hash rate, or maybe more hash rate on Bitcoin as compared to on Bitcoin Cash. But that's it. They stop researching after that. They don't know anything after that. Why I'm saying is because recently, like a few years ago, Bitcoin Cash like coordinated teams, basically 5 teams were there. I think 4 were there at that time. They decided that let's work on an upgrade that would reduce the risk of hash rate. So what happens is, since it's so much more hash rate is on Bitcoin, and they both are compatible with each other, so any of the Bitcoin miners can come on to the Bitcoin Cash side, and they can gain 50% of the hash rate. And if you gain more than 50% of the hash rate, you basically dictate the making of the blocks. So basically, that's something it's very well known everywhere, that it's basically it's a bad thing when 50% more than 50% hash rate belongs to one party. This has already happened with Ethereum Classic a few times. But
Sure,
the thing is that Bitcoin Cash introduced this upgrade where you wouldn't rely on the basically. Okay, I wouldn't go there. First of all, you need to understand that the difficulty to actually change to actually mine new blocks depends directly on the hash rate. So what happens is in Bitcoin, every 2016 blocks, your difficulty changes,
Okay. Okay.
right? So if more and more miners are there, they would, what happens is the difficulty would not reflect right away. It will take time. But what happened in Bitcoin Cash is they changed it to basically, some traders know it. So it's the algorithm is, I'm not very well versed with the algorithm, but it reflects something like EMA.
Okay, so it checks every block compared to Bitcoin, where it checks once in few months or few weeks.
Yes. So
Difficulty adjustment.
basically,
Okay.
it's the difficulty adjustment algorithm is a weighted algorithm on Bitcoin Cash. So
Okay.
the least the recent block has more weightage on deciding the basically the mining adjustment, the difficulty
Got it.
with the Bitcoin Cash network. So they don't research it. When more and more miners would come in, let's say they even try to attack on a 50% hash rate, what would happen is the network would adjust very quickly. And also
Understood. Yes.
a lot of miners on Bitcoin Cash side, and also of course on the Bitcoin side, are actually incentivized to protect the Bitcoin Cash network because of two reasons that I can think of. First is they are generating some revenue from Bitcoin Cash by mining and gathering small fees. At the same time, since Ethereum is moving to POS, there are less very known what do you call it, mining supporting blockchains, which can directly like transfer to, like basically they are more incentivized to save their infrastructure, if you would say.
Absolutely, I understood now. I think it's a very relevant thing to project at the time when somebody is new, to tell him that yes, Bitcoin Cash is less secure than Bitcoin, but actually it is not. It's both the same. If you see the kind of development that has happened, it's both the same. It's like telling somebody don't walk on the footpath. Vehicles may jump on the footpath and then hit you too. It's like it may happen, but doesn't mean that people are not going to stop walking on footpath, right? So they have to. But putting that fear in people is unnecessary. That's something I thought of now.
Yeah, I'd love to know what Susmit has to say.
If you want to add on to it, yes, go ahead.
Yep. I think I would agree with Kuldeep. And every blockchain has their own security
Yeah.
mechanism, right? And it's more of like, so you should see that what's the objective function of the blockchain is. That's very super important, right? For Bitcoin, the objective would be like the store of value. For Ethereum, it would be a computational part of things, like they can put programmable ultrasound money for. So every blockchain has their own objective function, and to maximize that objective function, their internal mechanism has to be different, because they're catering to different usp. Now every blockchain has to be two things, right? The thing regarding decentralization is debatable, but one thing is for sure, that they have to be autonomous in nature, and autonomous and decentralization, that is was something every blockchain has to aspire for. So think of it like a Tesla car and a Ford car, right? So banks are like a Ford car. So one person has to sit inside a car and has to drive that to go from X point to Y point, right? But blockchains are like a Tesla car, like an electric car.
Automatic.
You only need to tell them that go from here to here, and they will do it autonomously, and there is no need for you to control the car. But so it's a basically a win-win situation for all, for right. So for like for user, he doesn't have to go and like learn the car and all of those things. His ultimate motive is set, and like and it's not dependent on car. He's not need to control and anything and all of those things. So same is like where bank and Bitcoin actually comes into the play. So Bitcoin is basically an electric autonomous car. They're all doing the same thing, but everyone is doing in a different manner. In future, there would be better electric cars coming, because there's always there's like it always improves. The space always improves. Survival of the fittest, that is like the nature's law that we have.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And,
I think the point is
but
who's solving the better problem, like, or who's solving the problem better.
yeah, time and users will they say the
Users will
something
decide.
that we need to. Yep. We have options and everything, and that's where it boils down. But what happens is that ultimately everything boils down to two, right? If you see history, right? Like in operating system, there were a lot of operating system, but only two
Okay.
survived. That is Android and iOS. Even in the desktop version, only two things survives, like Mac and Windows and all of those things.
Mm-hmm.
The majority things and like which control 90% of the market. So even if you see in any e-commerce or anything and all of those things, if you see only majority only two of the it goes with the time and only two things survive. Maybe it's human psychology or it's a pattern or something, I don't know. But that's the general trend of the technology,
Okay.
and all of
Understood.
those things. Maybe because humans have two hands, they don't want to complicate things and all of those things. But so that's like you put into your UI UX designing and all of those things. But then this is not a theory. This is not like a something. It's just like intuition kind of things and all of those things. But in a decentralized way, I think many things can survive at once also. But take, I am swaying from the topic. Uh, yeah. There's something called control theory. So what happened is that you need to keep your objective function aligned to what you have promised to your users, right? So for Bitcoin security, so what it does
Yes.
is that
Yes.
it dynamically adjusts the difficulty rate. So whenever security is down, the difficulty rate is adjusted, and there's more incentive for miners to join the platform. Same goes for Ethereum, right? So they have POS, right? So whenever like there is less staking happening, the reward for individual stakers goes up, but annual issuance rate goes down, right? For protocol ends, it's like they're maintaining their objective function. So the protocol is like dynamically adjusting to the external environment out there, because external environment cannot be coded, right? Because it's unpredictable in nature. So yeah, that's how. So every protocol has their own smart mechanisms to do it, and every protocol it's appreciable in nature and all of those things. But yeah, there's lot of like so there's also like communities out there. So one community doesn't like the ideas of other communities, other community don't like idea of these community, but I think everything is appreciable and all of those things, and we should learn from each and every one of them. That's what it is.
Absolutely. I think whichever solves the real issue, the real people's issue, those things should be used, and anybody can build that kind of technology on their blockchain. It can be leveraged to others because it's addressing the real issues that's around there. So one of the things that is there, as when I keep saying about this real issue, real fixing the real problem that's out there. One of them is the payment sector, right? Payment sector is big. If you see in India, we have UPI, Unified Payments Interface. It's one of the hit thing that in India, it's caught on really well. It's been used by everyone at a very low level, paying 10 rupees also on that. I'm paying up to 10,000 rupees, 20,000, 50,000, 1 lakh rupees also on that. So UPI has become very popular. Why UPI is popular, and why is it, why am I using that context here is because UPI is an instant settlement. What I mean by that is on a Sunday afternoon also, if I do a payment or to someone for 1,000 rupees, that 1,000 rupees is actually reached the other person's bank account. The person who's supposed to receive has received it in his bank account. If he had nothing in his account, he has my 1,000 rupees. He can go to the ATM and withdraw the 1,000 rupees from his account. So that was an instant and real settlement. In abroad, of course, I lived in the UK also 7 years, and I know how it is. In abroad, 99% of the places, even though they call themselves West and then most forward and most developed nations, they do not have this kind of feature like UPI in abroad, where there is an instant settlement to the receiver. What I mean by that is, and I have had a meeting with a person in Luxembourg, and a similar thing happened in once in South America too. They're saying, Vikram, you know how it is in our country. We do not get settlements till Monday morning. That means if there is a Good Friday holiday and Saturday, Sunday holiday, whatever transactions you do on a Thursday evening, the person who's supposed to receive his local fiat will only receive it on Monday morning. That means there's a lot of gap in between, which the gap may lead to like fluctuation of price and things like that, where the actual merchant is not having liquidity. And when we know liquidity is the biggest thing in this world, having liquidity and comfort of getting liquidity easily is really big. So in that case, when UPI kind of thing is excelling, you can clearly see that is why UPI is so popular. And if you don't have a feature like UPI abroad, what becomes popular? Cryptocurrency, because cryptocurrency gives you instant settlement. What all cryptocurrency should have, same like UPI. UPI is instant and it is free. So that means something which is a transaction has to be almost free, if not free, because you're doing 10 rupee transactions. What can I pay in fees for a 10 rupee transaction in UPI? Maximum I could have paid 10 paise. If that's the fee that can be collected, 10 paise, for 1 crore, 1 lakh rupees that I transfer on UPI is also 10 paise, which is nothing, right? So similarly is how cryptocurrency, one of them, which is Bitcoin Cash, is really popular in settlements. If you see, Bitcoin used to be that before. And I'm not joking. Bitcoin was accepted in many places in the West. Bitcoin was the most popular currency for BitPay to take settlements, but both of this has gone out of the window. BitPay stopped using Bitcoin as the majority. Many places in the West which used to accept Bitcoin have stopped accepting Bitcoin. So that means, what did you do? You did one coin to go reverse on its economic use case. You spoiled in terms of the development, that the economic use case that was happening went reverse. So that's where Bitcoin Cash comes into play, because Bitcoin Cash not just now does that, and it allows people, the developers are sound in terms of understanding economics and finance, that they've kept the fees low, and the way it is made is to stay low and then do more transactions. So that's where Bitcoin Cash is coming in, equivalent to UPI for the rest of the world. When you have something like that, is where free, almost free, and instant. That's is been done by Bitcoin Cash on chain. I'm talking about, not just any other side chains or second layers. This has to be on chain, because we're moving away from centralized. Why should we go back to centralized second layers? So on-chain transactions, Bitcoin Cash does that, like UPI for the rest of the world. That's where it is becoming really popular in payments sector. A lot of merchants are accepting Bitcoin Cash. So that one part is completely missing in any of these blogs that I saw. And lastly, that been done, especially after the Miami conference. So nobody ever said those things, unless, of course, there is very small percentage of it, but majority have not written those kind of things. Is because they're not really seeing the economic future, or they're not economically strong, or maybe they're taking instructions to write those things, which is really bad. So that's been happening so far. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, I 100% agree. Yeah, one thing I would like to comment on-chain transaction is that from the Bitcoin Cash point of view, it's not necessary that all the transaction needs to be done on the base layer. It's just that it's not logical, like seriously from a technical point of view, it's not logical to move to a second layer yet for Bitcoin Cash. But all the people, all the main developers within the ecosystem, if you argue them, if you basically talk to them enough, they also already have come to this conclusion that eventually, if there is any limitation to the on-chain scaling, there is no problem going to a second layer, because that basically reduces down the burden on the first layer. And the great part is, we have a solution for the second side chain, basically for the side chain, which is Smart BCH, and that has a decentralized bridge. Not yet, of course. The main team is working on it. So the awesome part is that you can lock your funds on that contract, and the same funds are available on your side chain. So the entire supply of Bitcoin Cash is basically split in two, and whatever amount you want to basically bridge from Bitcoin Cash to your sidechain, which is a second layer solution, and everybody's promoting it. There is nobody I've seen, even in like all the different teams, who is not promoting the sidechain, basically the layer 2 solution. And of course, like I have hundreds of things that I can talk about Smart BCH. It's okay. The one selling point would be it's home for one of the first interest paying stable coin, which is FlexUSD. So they Bitcoin.com and CoinFlex had a partnership a few months ago. They are doing incredible things. And of course, like CoinFlex is responsible for a lot of things that happen to Smart BCH right now. But of course, that changes within the next few months, 2-3 months.
Cool. I think I should correct myself there. I understood the difference now is like very clearly sidechain and the second layer chain is completely two different things. Your sidechain is still promoting a lot of things good, and your second layer chain is not necessarily on chain and whatever that is. It's actually going back to centralized things. So there is another topic to that. Go on if you have a point to make.
So the main chain is the main chain. Like
Yes.
the BCH chain, whenever you talk about Bitcoin Cash, that's the main chain. Anything that is taking load off it or taking like basically providing more services and has a decentralized biz attached to it, that can act as a second layer.
Sure.
So
Understood.
even Lightning Network that is for Bitcoin, that is also a layer on top of Bitcoin. That can of course not yet be done on Bitcoin Cash, but there is not enough need for something like Lightning Network to be introduced at the first place, and there is
There's no need for it. Yes.
Exactly.
Because it can still hold that on chain itself. 32 MB is not filled all the time. Yeah, okay.
And Lightning Network by nature is not eventually if the Lightning Network is used very much a lot often, it will eventually lead to a lot of more centralization
yes,
because
it does.
of how inherently works.
Absolutely. There's one point that I remembered. I'm sorry to cut you off there.
No
it
problem.
is that when Satoshi had mentioned this, also, the incentive system that he's built for the miners is something that was brilliantly made by Satoshi. And that gets ruined in the second layers. Because in second layer or in this lightning layer, because in the lightning layer, the fees is not collected by the miners now anymore. The fees is collected by the centralized system, even though it is less, whatever it is, but only when you go on to the second chain first time and then you come back from second chain to on chain is you pay the fees to the miner. But rest, if you're doing multiple transactions on the Lightning Network, you're completely taking away that fees from the miners part of it.
Yes.
That means the real, the system that was built by Satoshi, which is completely foolproof, is missing that part where the incentivization of miners after the number of awards have been dropped. Like it used to be 50 Bitcoins, now it's only 6.25. At this time, they should be expecting more in fees, more in mining fees or the transaction fees, I mean, which is missing if you go on to the second layer. This is one of those thoughts I just thought of it now.
Yeah, so adding to your point, the awesome part of Smart BCH is that only the validators, like up till now, of course it has changed a little bit after the hard fork yesterday, only the miners of the main chain can be the validators of the POS chain. Actually, Smart BCH is a hybrid chain. It follows two consensus. It's a proof of stake. At the same time, it utilizes proof of work of the main Smart BCH chain.
Wow.
So it's not just randomly detached from the main ecosystem. It's both of them will be working together, and each of them will be providing value to each other. So imagine in 2013 or 2012 or whenever you were super hyped about Bitcoin, imagine Ethereum also adding on to that system, and you already know what Ethereum is capable of. Now you have two systems working parallelly, and I'm all in.
I'm sure, because this kind of technology, advances is what is needed for everybody to get onto it, to scale to the real world, to the whole world. And actually, to add another question to the same topic that we were talking about, there is a debate that is going on about the size of the block, the whole blockchain. Your Bitcoin blockchain is somewhere around 350 GBs worth.
Yeah.
When you download the whole ledger, I remember the first time when I downloaded it, somewhere around 30, I think. Or maybe a little lower, because the second time when I plugged after 2 years, it took me around 2 hours to load the whole blockchain. So because those wallets then were all heavy wallets, and we did not have any light wallets. Till 2013, when I used it, it was all full wallets. I had to download the whole blockchain before I could see my balance. Right. So that was how I remember. So now it is around 350 GB. And where is Bitcoin Cash sitting at, BCH?
Of course, like at Zapit, we manage the entire node as well. So it's About it, of course, like the base is there about 180 GB or 200 GB or something, but at the
Yes.
same time you have to do a lot of optimizations that requires a lot of space, because for example, there are different databases that you would need uh, to manage the entire UTXO model of the blockchain. So there could be somebody who has not spent any of their Bitcoin since 2010. We would still need to consider their Bitcoin as well. So on top of that, so basically it's about 220 something GB right now.
Yes.
But
Yes.
the good part is there are solutions available where you do not need to have 220 GB, even if you are providing services.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there are different kind of nodes that are available. uh, Basically the miners would need the entire complete set, and they don't have any problems since they're already putting in a lot of funds
Yes.
on their infrastructure because they're mining. They wouldn't be crying that they have 100, they need 100 more GBs. It's nothing
Absolutely
for
not.
them.
Because it's nothing in price
Yes.
in Moore's law. If they're setting up a mining rig, that means one mining piece of equipment itself would be more expensive than the whole computer and the GB space that they need to take, right?
Yeah, exactly. So you just need to manage. There are different modes where you can run your node on. So you can prune
Yeah.
your node. You can only take a small fraction of since whenever you run your node, it talks to the entire network. So
True that.
you don't get it like the blockchain, you don't get from from the entire, you don't basically download 300 GB from some website. You talk to different nodes that you're connected to, and you keep on downloading the blocks that you have. Only then, and of course you verify those blocks whether they are right or not, using the algorithm that does basically the hashing algorithm, and how basically checks all the blocks that whether it's right or not, and it keeps on building its own blockchain. My own node
Absolutely.
will be building my own blockchain, and then eventually it will club together all the DUTXOs that are available, and that's it. Only for lookup, basically any transaction that you want to see on 2013 or 2014 or whatever, only then you would need that particular block or transaction, just to check all the what you did there. Otherwise
Absolutely.
you wouldn't need the entire blockchain history. So not really
Totally
a
understood.
problem. Of course, Ethereum is extremely big. The log data is off the charts. I'm sure like
Is it?
Sushmit will agree to it. So basically, whenever you want to read something from Ethereum blockchain, mostly what you do is you just create some events whenever you are interacting with a smart contract, and those events are not part of the within like the consensus or the blockchain. They are indexed in a different form, and you can just read from the blockchain. It doesn't cost you anything. That
Wow.
log data is huge for Ethereum, and nobody's crying about it.
True. Because I think everything has got an improved version, like how the first wallet, like I said, I had to download the whole ledger. Now I don't have to. I can easily have a light wallet on my phone. So it's improvising in that way. And Ethereum has also done so much better. So that point that they make is irrelevant, where they're saying 32 MB can become too many GBs in total. Actually, no, it's very well optimized for BCH and is actually less than what it should have been. Great stuff. But in contradicting this is BSV, I think one of the other side chains or the folks of Bitcoin, they have up to 4 TB because they kept that first idea of Bitcoin white paper, like keeping unlimited size for the block. That's how it was started, right? And eventually Satoshi restricted to 1 MB on Bitcoin in 2010. So BSV took that idea of first, and then they kept it open. Because of that, they get a lot of spam. They get a lot of unwanted transactions, which is not really relevant. These transactions that is piling up on BSV and making it 4 TB worth of data is really worthless. Like it's not doing any economic activity to solve any issues for the people.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I guess that's where we know, at least with this conversation, that what we're doing is better, or what one group is doing in economic wise and trying to really solve the global issues wise. So yeah, that was one of the things. And in between, I think Sushmit just left. He had a meeting, so he put a message.
Yeah, that's
Uh,
okay. It's okay.
Guys, I think we've been talking so much. I still have a few more questions. I don't want to address them because we're getting close to 6 o'clock. I'd like to take any questions from you guys, whoever's been there listening keenly, and I'm sure you were enjoying this. You have any questions, specific questions that you have, please go ahead.
Hello, Vikram.
Hi.
Yeah, so like first of all, great AMA session, and I'm really engaged actually. The question that I have is like, can something be really decentralized, like 100% decentralized?
Well, that's the good question. I will take that first. 100% centralized decentralization is a pursuit that we are all working on. It was started by Satoshi with Bitcoin Cash protocol, and the Bitcoin Cash. Actually, when I say Bitcoin Cash, is the real Bitcoin that has been there since the beginning, right? Because Bitcoin Cash also shares the same ledger. So it's a pursuit that Satoshi started there in Bitcoin, and of course, this more and more, the government interference from the US is happening, the more Bitcoin is getting a little centralized, little bit at a time, because of Blockstream owners of the Blockstream who got a lot of funding from the major companies are the developers of Bitcoin also. So it's in their interest to build centralized systems on top of it. So we clearly know they are getting centralized, and Bitcoin Cash is where it is getting decentralized as much as possible. So to get 100% Bitcoin decentralization, it's a pursuit. We are all working towards it. For me, the highest right now that's available out there is Bitcoin Cash. I'm sure others have their own view. I'm sure Kuldeep can tell you it's Ethereum. Maybe it is 99.5 and 99.45. It's that small difference. But yes, Bitcoin is not at 99. Bitcoin is maybe sitting at some 30% of decentralization. It started off very well, but it's going reverse in that. And the few coins which has got some real good economic understood developers are building their tokens to try and be as much decentralized as possible, because sometimes some things has to be built in a way like how we have bridge to PCH to smart PCH is centralized now, but to work on that to make it decentralized is going to take two developments. Like the May development will have half of it developed there and launched, and then September 1 will completely launch the fully decentralized move from a bridge from Bitcoin Cash to Bitcoin Cash, smart Bitcoin Cash. So like that, it's a pursuit we've been building. The more scaling is happening, the more centralized parts come in, and then they eventually get removed by adding a code to make it decentralized. Something like this has always been happening.
Yeah, thank you.
If
Kuldeep wants to add to any of the point, please go ahead.
Before that, before more people leave, I'll just share two two messages for everyone to refer. One is this video. It's in chat for everyone, and another one is helpme.cash. Okay, yeah, like you guys can like refer it afterwards.
Awesome, thanks a lot. Anybody else want to jump in for a question? The remaining topic about this conversation debate we can continue next meetup. I'd like to take some more questions now, because whatever that you heard, if
I would like to ask, other than this cash transaction, I just want to know about how hard it is to use blockchain in security purpose. I mean, when I ask this, I want to know about that use case in embedded systems. How hard, whether we have to keep a blockchain inside the embedded system or we have to keep outside for the security. Is it possible for us to keep blockchain inside the embedded to keep the security in charge, or how is it going to happen? I just want to know an overview of that. You're clear with my question, or do I have to? This is for the developers.
Okay, Harishankar, right? Thank you, Harishankar, for your question.
Yeah.
Yes, there is one developer right now. Kuldeep
Yeah.
is there. If you want to take that question.
Yeah, actually, I'm not sure how it would affect. I've never worked with embedded system, to be honest. Yeah, I don't know. And what kind of security exactly are you talking about? Because most of the important things are controlled by algorithms. And for example, a hash function would work the same way. SHA-256 would work the same way on any system, and would produce the same results. So if you can maybe elaborate a little on exactly that or something else, so maybe I can like point to something.
Cool. Thanks, Kuldeep. But I guess I can just jump in for 1 minute, thinking that what I have understood. So you're trying to say any security point of view in that blockchain point of it. For me, I think you put it on the blockchain is more secure. Like that's where it is timestamped. It's immutable technology, which then the data is forever. You cannot change the data. So if you were trying to do, say, any kind of DeFi system, and if you were doing it on a second layer and not actually putting it on the chain and timestamping all your moves that you did, it's not secure. And if you did it on a blockchain that can take all your changes on the blockchain, on chain, you're able to update it every time, eventually will give you those. Thank you very much. And yes, thanks for being part of it. I'm sorry, that was the limit that I had in terms of explaining to that point. Like Kuldeep also said, if you want to elaborate your question a little bit more, please go ahead.
Yeah, what I'm trying to ask is like, see, we are in an age of connected system mostly.
Yes.
I mean, a car can be connected to any of the infrastructure. Car can communicate with the outer world. You have seen that new MG Hector, which is badges internet inside, which means there is a communication happening somewhere in the car. So it is like
Right.
all the system are getting connected.
Mhm.
So the downside of that is that it is easily to hack to. It is very easy to hack a car, and you can control it very
Correct.
easily. Whoever knows that. So my question is that how we can leverage the blockchain security system so that it cannot be hacked from outside. So is there any way we can use that, or is it not a possible way to use a blockchain? Because if you want to download something, I mean a block or something like that, it will take a huge amount of space and time. That is what my limited knowledge is. I'm not very expert in that area. I'm just learning. So I just want to know whether it's a possible solution to make it a secure way of communication through blockchain. Is it possible like that, or is it like just a vague idea, a crazy idea I have to put forward? You
No,
have to
this
give me some
definitely,
insight.
yeah, sorry.
Yeah,
It's
yeah, go
definitely
on.
interesting. I see where you're coming from. So for example, there are a few blockchains who are working on IoT devices. Um, I'll let you know in like 2-3 minutes before I like complete the statement. So basically what you're trying to do is you need to source the security of blockchain and put it on the devices in some fashion where you can make it more secure.
Exactly,
But
exactly.
yeah. So have you used Treasure or any of the hardware wallets?
No, no, I never used it.
So
Never used.
basically how you would interact with the blockchain is you would have to create every interaction basically with the blockchain is a transaction, especially the blockchains that we are talking about. So each transaction can change the state of the entire blockchain of that particular space. So for example, you would create a contract which is like super fast. Of course, like on Ethereum, it would be a very bad idea to create a car that would be working because like you wouldn't want to create a simple system where you would cost something just to do simple operations like setting a route or maybe like starting a car. You wouldn't want to pay something for as simple as that. At the same time, how would you broadcast that transaction? Where would you broadcast it from? And how secure is that hardware which has the keys to actually create those transactions? Right? So if you can create that piece of software which holds the keys, which can communicate with the blockchain, yes, you can source the security of blockchain, of course. Like since you are the owner of that contract or anything, whatever you do is going to be like basically nobody else can do a like a man in the middle attack or any other attack like that which can like jeopardize the security of any other person. Does it make sense?
Harishankar, okay. So thank you for the explanation, Kuldeep. I'm sure he's heard it. So I have a take on that too. If I can just give a small example too. It may be the last question because we will not be able to take any more questions after this, but I'll take one more after this explanation. Anybody wants to have that, keep your question ready. So the explanation that I have is, say we want to use autonomous cars. Say Tesla. Tesla is more than 50% of the cars on the streets now of India, and every car can talk to each other. So you want a system that these cars can all work together so that they can use one particular system to pay and receive funds for letting one car ahead. So this concept was there a long time ago in cryptocurrencies when it was new. But of course, now that we are talking so much about Bitcoin Cash blockchain, I think this will be very relevant there. So now if you use a Bitcoin Cash blockchain between these autonomous cars, every car on the street, then you have like 10 cars on the street, but in this crowded traffic, if one car can pay the other car money instantly and a small amount, that car can give space to this car which is behind. So if you're paying all the cars ahead of you, you can go ahead. So to do that, you need an instant and cheaper transaction. So your car should be making payment and the other car should receive that instant settlement. Even in Bitcoin, if you see, it's a 10-minute wait. In Ethereum, it's only 15 seconds. But in Ethereum, the problem is that sometimes it takes too long. It is not instant. It is not, even that 15-second is not actually instant. So in Bitcoin Cash, that the development that they've done is it's instant and it is a very low fee. So the fee right now is around 7 to 10 paise, which is amazing, I would say, because if you're paying one car from another car, I would say at least in the value terms, you would be paying some 10 rupees at least. To pay the 10 rupees, 10 paise is nothing. So you can use this autonomous thing, Bitcoin Cash blockchain on these autonomous cars. And eventually all these cars will be equipped with the wallet and a Bitcoin Cash chain, on-chain, and these are all on-chain transactions. And each car can make a payment or receive payment for letting the other car go ahead of him.
Yeah.
So this place, I would say Bitcoin Cash blockchain can come in and sit nicely. And if you were thinking of any other project where a smart a smart blockchain can sit and actually should be used so that the system itself becomes secure, means every transaction goes on chain, I would suggest Bitcoin Cash for that. What do you think?
That's interesting. That's interesting. Very interesting scenario what you just said. Because most maybe in future it will be about talking to each other, just like we humans do. The systems can talk to each other. They will exchange values, information, everything. So yeah, I think it's a very interesting concept about exchanging money. Even in toll booth, you can use the same logic what you have mentioned. You
Absolutely.
don't have to pay in the toll booth. You have to pay some other guy. Other guy will get paid. For example, in the you don't have to wait much. Whoever in the front of the line, you can pay them the amount, and everyone can pass. Maybe I'm not sure whether how it's a feasible solution or not, but this type of crazy ideas will be more relevant in the coming years. That is what I
Absolutely,
feel.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes, I think even if you see our social medias that we sit and use, the amount of time we use, we don't get that equivalent in value because we are spending on our time and we didn't get anything. The centralized, media, social media owners get the value from us. So in future, what should happen, which is already happening in noise.cash, if you ever use noise.cash, where your social media interaction is worthwhile, you even make money if somebody is spending too much time on your blog. So that should be the way forward. So when there is a lot of money collected, read.cash also, very nicely you said, noise.cash and read.cash. So small amounts are moved, and these small amounts are moved only through blockchain of Bitcoin Cash right now, is because that's what is supporting an instant and small value transfers. And even in my car concept that I said, the reason I use that cars is because you're moving fast, or sometimes you're moving slow, but when you're in the car, you're moving fast. That means the transaction has to be instant. If it is not instant, the car in the forward may not know, will it confirm this transaction or not? Will I really have this value or not? After letting this car go in front, what if the transaction gets delayed and not completed? So that mitigation is completely removed if it is instant transaction. And that's what Bitcoin Cash is giving right now. And for a lower fee, instant transaction, like I said before, something should compete with UPI to give that feature to people. If you don't even give that kind of a feature like UPI, you cannot compete. Like Bitcoin cannot compete because it's 10 minutes in its high fees. It should be like UPI, instant and almost free. Great stuff. I think we can take one more question. Anyone can jump in for that. That'll be the last question for today.
So I would like to take the opportunity.
Go for
So
it.
can one blockchain be used as a side chain for another blockchain?
That's a good one. Between two chains.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah, 100%.
Kuldeep, go for it, man.
Yeah,
I
have
think
you
you're the
heard of
person.
yeah, thank you, Vikram. Have you heard of Polkadot?
Yes.
Yeah, that something like that happens there. Like, so there is a main chain. I think it has got 64 slots or something, and each is allotted by some governance mechanism, and basically one chain can talk to another chain, and each slot is basically a different chain that interacts with the main chain. I think that's the crux of Polkadot. I'm not sure exactly how it works, but yes, the question that you asked, the answer will be yes.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Well, I have no explanation on this. So thank you very much, Kuldeep, and thanks for the last words. And thank you very much, guys. I think it was a great meet. It was a good few questions from the people. And we look forward to talking to you guys more and the coming meetups. Any last words from you, Kuldeep?
Yes. Yeah, I wanted to say something. So this is regarding, this is basically my thought on prices.
Yeah.
So when people say that why is Bitcoin's price so much higher, let's say 100 times higher than Bitcoin Cash's, like I would say there are certain people who can easily control the narrative. You can easily the censorship is basically a very powerful tool. Also, monopoly is something that you, as soon as you get, you dictate the terms. For example, just read about how insulin works, like the entire history of insulin and what it costs. In so many countries it's free, and just read about how expensive it is in USA, and what is the production cost for it, and why exactly is it so much expensive for insulin for all the people who are basically literally dependent and would die if they won't get an insulin shot. Why I'm trying to say this is, this can be done. Like the insulin can be made cheaper, and it can be provided to people with basically for health benefits. But it's not because of the monopoly of, I think there are 3 companies that control the entire supply chain of and manufacturing of insulin. The same logic can be applied to Bitcoin. 99% of the development is controlled by one team. That team has so many people coming from Blockstream. Blockstream is you would as the if you look at the video that I shared earlier, you would understand what I mean by that. They have a lot of investors from various powerful groups. And it's very easy to just imagine this. What would you want? Limit the block to 1 MB and then create a layer on top of it and sell that to people. Sell that to thousands and thousands of companies, governments, everybody. How much money would you make there as compared to just increase the block size and eventually create more solutions and figure out more better ways to re-architecture the blockchain? It's obvious
point,
that
yes.
yeah, that's it. Thank you so much.
Well, that was a good point. I said I got it. I hope others also.
We share the
But
same
anyway,
vision.
sure. Well, thank you very much, Kuldeep. Thank you very much, everyone, and thank you, Ajay, for staying on standby as a host and recording this whole event. We look forward to putting this out for people to see it. And yeah, thanks again. Till the next meeting.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Nice meeting you.
Okay, guys. Bye. Have a
you.
nice weekend.
Bye, everybody.